we were speaking about what the Zohar says, that Vayigash Elav Yehuda's approach to Yosef is about the smichas geula letfila, about not interrupting between Gal Yisrael and Shemin Esrei. So we asked a question that seemingly it's just the opposite, because smichas geula letfila means that you have the tefillah and you bring the geula close to it, which means that geula, which is representing Yosef, versus Yehuda being the level of tefillah, so it would have to be not Vayigash Yehuda el Yosef, that Yosef is there and then you bring in Yehuda, but the other way around. It would have to be Vayigash Yosef al Yehuda, that Yosef, which is Geula, is being brought close to the level of Tefillah. So to explain that, he started explaining that Tefillah in general is the idea about Halom al-Matal al-Maila. And whenever you have a Halom al-Matal al-Maila, such as in Shabbos, which is a Halom al-Matal al-Maila, an elevation from below to above, just like davening is an elevation from below to above. So you need to have, before that elevation, you need to have Amshacham al-Maila, like it says, L'cha doidi likras kala pnei Shabbos l'kabla, that first, the beloved, first Hashem has to come towards the Kala, has to come towards the Shabbos, and then there could be the Aliyah of Shabbos. That's why we say it on Friday night, at the entrance of Shabbos, like at the time when Shabbos has to be Oila, so then we have the Amshacham al-Maila beforehand. Based on this, he's going to explain the same idea of Smichas Geula L'Tfilah, first Gal Yisrael, and then the level of Shemin Esrei, even though we have in our parsha Vayigash Yehuda Elav, that Yehuda approached Yosef. So again, the bottom paragraph on the third page of the Maimon. That's also the idea of why we have first Geula, which is Yosef, and then davening, which is Shemin Esrei. Even though it says Vayigash Elav Yehuda, that Yehuda, which is the level of Tefillah, precedes Geula. So there should be able to be the ascent and elevation of davening. So there has to be drawn down first the power for this from above. That is why we first have Geula, we say Gal Yisrael. Gal Yisrael is like the L'cha doidi of Shabbos. That Gal Yisrael is like the Serusa de La'ela that precedes the Serusa de L'Sata. Before you can have davening, before you can have Shabbos, before you can have a Serusa de L'Sata, you need to have a Serusa de La'ela beforehand. That is the idea of Geula. In a similar vein, Yosef and Yehuda, that the idea of Yosef and Yehuda is Geula and davening. So shekadei sheyuchol liyas inyan aliyah that tefillah inyan shel Yehuda. So it should be the idea of davening, which is what Yehuda represents. Tzarich liyas tchila nitzinas koyach malmayla has to be the empowerment from above. V'hu inyan amshacham Yosef shenyan geula, and that's the drawing down from Yosef that its matter is geula. But you can ask, we don't see amshachar of Yosef. What we see in our parsha is the other thing. We see Vayigash Elav Yehuda, the first Yehuda approach, meaning that it began with a Surah. What happened with the fact that there has to be Gal Yisrael, there has to be Yosef before Yehuda, there has to be the Amshacham al-Maila before there can be the Aliyah of Yehuda? So for that, the Rebbe says, that we already find in Parshas Miketz. We find the Gilim al-Maila, the level of Yosef, the level of Geula, come first to empower Yehuda for the Aliyah. We have that in the end at the previous parsha. She says 4 lines from the bottom. That's where it says the end of the previous parsha. Oidis Gevia HaKesef, about the silver goblet. She hit min Yosef bam tachas Binyamin, that Yosef concealed and hid away in Binyamin's sack. The Hine Binyamin hu tzadik tachten. We mentioned this in passing, that Yosef is called Yosef HaTzadik, but he's the level of Tzadik Elyon. Tzadik Elyon is associated with Yisoid. He explained it has to do with Toiv and Yuzayin Shona, etc. And Binyamin is Tzadik Tachten, usually associated with Malchus, or sometimes Yisoid Sheva Malchus, if I remember correctly. The Inin Givya Kesef u Inyan Av. The idea that Yosef concealed the silver goblet inside the possessions of Binyamin Tzadik Tachten, that means he brought love, in other words, the revelation from above, the Yisrusa de Leila. He concealed and brought down a love into Binyamin. As it's known, Shekesef u Inyan Av, like it's known that silver represents the idea of love. Like it says in Tanya, Shekesef Humalosha Nichsef Nichsafta Lebase, that you have desired and yearned to the base of Yicha, to the house of your father. And the Alter Rebbe explains, as opposed to Zahav, gold is the level of Yira. The Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya. So what does this mean that Yosef concealed it in the sack of Binyamin? He concealed, he brought Ava down into Binyamin. Yosef himshachu Paul b'Binyamin inyan ha'avala lakus. Yosef drew down in and affected in Binyamin the idea of love for godliness. And since Binyamin is representing the level of Malchus, Malchus is the level of Knesset Yisrael, the Shoyd of Shavon Shams Yisrael. So by extension, the level of Yosef is about drawing down from above, Yisrus Leila, love in the Yidden. So that's what he says, Shehu Inyan Hamshachas Ha'ava Hamasuteres Mol Mailo. That, I'm sorry, V'hu Inyan Ha'ava Hamasuteres Sheyesh B'chol Echad V'echad Yisrael. This is the concealed love that's to be found in every single Yid. Because every single Yid has this innate and concealed love, and that's the idea of the Gavia Kesef. Now we can also understand by saying that this refers to the concealed love that every Yid has, Shezeu Yosef hitmin as Gavia Kesef. That's the idea that it says that Yosef hid the silver goblet. What's the emphasis? Yosef is bringing Ava to Binyamin. Yosef is being Mamshach Ava to Neshamas Yisrael, Yisrusa Dol Eila. What's the emphasis on hiding? Hainu Sha'ava Einu Beis Galus. The love is not revealed. She'ein Margish is Ava. He's not conscious and aware. He doesn't feel the love. Eli Avim Soteres. But it's a concealed love. And that is why Yosef as well concealed the silver goblet inside the Binyamin's sack. Now the question is why? Why does this love need to be concealed? Why can't Yosef bring it down in a revealed way? Why does the love have to be a concealed love? So this is an interesting point that's not discussed that much in Chassidus. Why the love is concealed? We just think it's a natural state. We learn about this first in Perek Yitches, Perek Yitches and Tanya. Every Yid has an innate concealed love. He's not aware of it until some major emergency comes up, like they're trying to force him to Chas v'Sholom give up Yiddishkeit. Then all of a sudden it awakes, whether the person is the greatest or the most minor of Yidden, that love becomes revealed. But the question is, why? Why is it concealed? If it's there the whole time, why not be revealed? So he says an interesting point. The Tamadavar, the reason why the love is concealed, Lefisha b'neshamas ha-beinim, because in the neshamas of the beinim, which is what the Alter Rebbe is talking about in Tanya, to midas ha-beini, achrei kol adam yimshach, this is what everybody strive to. Ulam matam izeh, and those that are lower than a beinini, the Rebbe doesn't want to explicitly say that he's talking about Rishoyim. Because we know the love is found by every Yid. This concealed love is concealed and innate and natural and intuitive by every Yid, no matter how low he is. Much lower than a Beinoni, he still has that. But that love cannot be begilui. Why can't it be begilui? כדי שלא יתאים איזה יניקה לסטרה אחרא עדיין. חס ושלום. If this love, this innate concealed love would be revealed, so that the Sitra Achra would be able to nurse from it, would be able to receive chayes from it. How come? What does this mean? The Kivan Sha'arahu Adayin Begilu Yatzlam, since by a Beinani, and definitely by those that are lower than a Beinani, the bad is still revealed by them, like we said, Beinani Zevaz Shoiftam, both the Ra and the Toiv have an opinion at least. It's possible that the love can come out in foreign things, heaven forbid. Because he's in such a state of love, this love can express itself and be redirected or hijacked by the negative, by the side of bad that's still present by the Beinani or someone that's lower than it. Perhaps this is similar to what Chassidus talks about Klippus Plishtim. Klippus Plishtim, Chassidus explains, means that there's what's called Mavoi HaMefulosh. There is a type of alley that's open from both sides, a street that's open from both sides. And what happens is that a person can sometimes have a great love of Hashem by davening, but since the person by davening is in a very great and excited and open emotionally, and in a loving manner emotionally, after davening, it's an open street, and it can flow out that instead of this emotional buildup of the love to godliness, after davening, this love can come out into things that are not in concert with Kedusha. In a similar vein, he says over here that if a Beinani and someone that's lower would have the Ava Mesoteres not be Mesoteres, it would be Ava Gluya the whole time, that love could be taken over, could be hijacked by the other side and used for its thing. Therefore, the love has to be specifically concealed. That's the idea of the concealed love. And after, there's this idea of the drawing down of the love from above that Yosef HaTzadik brought down in the previous parsha. This Rusadol Ela that has to precede this Rusadol Asata, that we should have this concealed love within us. Then there could be the ascent from below to above in davening. And that is Vigash Elav Yehuda. So in the davening situation, Baruch Atah Hashem Hagal Yisrael, that's the level of Yosef. That corresponds to what took place in last week's parsha when Yosef concealed the love in Tzadik Tachten, in Binyamin, in the Neshamas Yisrael. Then there's the level of Yehuda, Vayigash Elav Yehuda. That is the level of tefillah that now, once we got the energy from above, we got this Rusul Leila, Mamayla, so now we have to do it on our own, the level of tefillah. So that's what he concludes in Oisei, V'zeh, Vayigash Elav Yehuda. That's what it says that Yehuda approached him, V'hainu, Hagoshes, Yehuda li Yosef, the approach of Yehuda to Yosef, U'inyan at-tefillah atzma, is the idea of davening itself. It comes after the prefacing and the bringing close of Geula to davening. That davening situation, that we say first Gal Yisrael, and then we daven Shemoneh Esrei, so that is Shuinyan Amshachas Teres Mamaylo, that's the drawing down the concealed love from above. That's last week's parsha. Giviyah Kesef Hitmin Yosef, the silver goblet that Yosef concealed. Sheinyane Geula, that idea behind it is redemption. That in this is included all the levels, so it's not just the minor level, but it already has the potential for all the things that are going to come afterwards, including the davening, etc., because it's been prepped beforehand. But they're still concealed, like we said about Av Mesoteres must be concealed. And afterwards, through the Goal Yisrael, through Yosef concealing the silver goblet, comes about afterwards the ascent from below to above. Shazel Vayigash Elav Yehuda, the Yehuda approached him, Shuinyan Aliyah, the Yehuda, Shemis'al Madregas Yosef. It's the ascent of Yehuda until he rises up to the level of Yosef, that now Yehuda goes to this level that he's not the receiver, he's going up now to the level of Yosef. And because of these two ways of approaching, either it's Yosef before Yehuda or Yehuda before Yosef, that's why in the Haftarah things are also like flipped around. This is also what it says in the Haftarah, this parsha. All over the Yehuda, you should take one piece of wood. Yichas was told and write on it the word to Yehuda. And take another piece of wood and write upon it to Yosef or Ephraim. Shouldn't bring them closer, one to one. There will be for you like one piece of wood. They will come as one to you, because you have both things now joined together. Yehuda will become elevated to a higher level than the level of Yosef, which is going to be the theme that we're going to talk about in the next minor. That even though in our parsha, who's on top? Yosef is on top. Yosef is the one that's the king over all the brothers in Mitzrayim. Yehuda is approaching Yosef, like we said. It's Alam al-Matal al-Maila to reach the level of Yisrael of Yosef. But in the Haftarah, it's the other way around. Yosef and David are joined. Yosef and Yehuda are joined. But who's going to be the king? That David, my servant, will be a king over them. So now it's going to be turned around, and instead of Yehuda needing to go up to Yosef, Yosef is now going to be receiving from Yehuda, which is the whole idea of La'asad Lava, Yeshes Chayla Teres Baila, the lower level, Malchus is going to go up higher than Zah, etc. That's also the idea that the Rebbe explains in many Mamorim on this parsha that he speaks about, that action will be greater when Mashiach comes. It says the Gemara has this discussion: is Talmud Gadol or Ma'aseh Gadol, what's greater, Torah study or action? And the answer is Talmud Gadol Shemeivel de Ma'aseh. Torah study is greater because it brings to action, which is a bit of a speaking from both sides of your mouth. It's not really answering it. So Chassidus explains, and the Rebbe talks about this. Now Torah study is greater, just like Yosef was greater in Mitzrayim, and he was the king over all the brothers. Yosef is the level of Limna Torah, like we spoke about. David, we spoke about in the Mamorim that we had before, is a level of action. When Mashiach comes, we will reach the level just the opposite, that Ma'aseh is God. That's going to be thanks to the Torah God of now. But that's again why in our parsha you'd have to go up to Yosef, because now Talmud is God, learning is greater. But when Mashiach comes, action is going to be greater, and that's why, because action is going to be greater in the Haftarah, when it talks about what's going to be when Mashiach comes, it says, "But David Avdi Nasa Aleim Lo'ilam," that David will be greater. David Avdi Nasa Aleim Lo'ilam, and David, my servant, will be a leader over them forever. Bias Mashiach Tzedkeinu, in the coming of Mashiach Tzedkeinu, Yavi Galenu Elcheinu Kamis Lartzeinu, He come and redeem us and lead us upright to our land, Begula Mitzvah Shlema, Bekar of Mamish, in the complete and true redemption, speedily Mamish.